Oh man, we are back again. What's going on, Marvin? How you doing, buddy?
It's Friday. It's not really cold outside. It's like 53 degrees for some reason here in Pittsburgh. But we're making it happen. Man, I get a laugh track on that one.
Hey, it's Friday. Hey, you gotta be happy, that it's Friday. It's a beautiful thing, We're just happy to be off work, happy to get ready for the weekend, for those who are, off for the weekend and everything. So it's a beautiful thing. So you gotta applaud that and stuff. We work hard during the weekend stuff, to get to this day and to make it happen and everything.
Just
So
say like happy weekend for those who celebrate.
happy weekend for those who celebrate. We appreciate you. And if you're watching us tonight, we appreciate you checking us out. We are thanking you and making sure that you are welcome to the whole Comicsburg show. And this is basically a show where we talk about everything comics related, everything Comicsburg related. And basically talk about pop culture, industry stuff, a lot of comic, stuff. And we're also talking about how to make comics and stuff, which is a real important thing for those who are in the whole creation thing. And just want to, make sure that you guys know about everything Comicsburg related and everything. So a little bit of house cleaning. I want to make sure that you guys are following us at Comicsburg. We are all over social media on X, Twitter, X. Oh, is it
X?
Yeah, X. Okay, no, not that X. Okay, let's make it like that and everything. That was a different thing, right? X. So make sure that you follow us on there. We're also on Instagram, on Facebook. We are on YouTube. So if you're watching us right now on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe now. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification button. So anytime that we're on, that we're on. Making sure that you are leaving us some feedback. At info@comicsburg.com. So we love. Someone was in my mouth there. We love making sure that you're leaving us some feedback. Let us know what you think about everything that we got going on here at Comicsburg, because we got a lot going on. Shout out and congratulations. We just had another successful Kickstarter from my man William for Trillion. So make sure that you guys are down in Comicsburg and checking us out and checking that out. So congrats to him. And congrats to everybody who are out there doing your thing and everything, making sure that your stuff is out there for all the people to see and stuff. So this week we got some really good stuff going on. So what's going on with you, Marvin? How you been?
I mean, I can't complain.
All right.
Things are getting done. I spent like 5 minutes on the Volume 3 Kickstarter today. Didn't really add that much stuff to it, but we got a bunch of stuff that's going to be added to it pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, we'll show like a preview of that and everything, before the end and everything. So we got some more Kickstarters coming up. It's coming up on the end of the year, but at the beginning of the year, we'll have some some more projects coming out. We're always working here at Comicsburg. We're all here making sure that you guys are being continually entertained by the medium of comics and stuff. And I think one thing we had to say that we're happy that we got these trade paperbacks going and stuff. Now that we, can actually get stuff in square bound form, into like bookstores, outside of the retail comic stuff. We love our retailers and everything, but trying to expand those, avenues to where we can actually, get our stuff into more people's hands. So I think that's a beautiful thing for us. So, so basically what we're going to do today is, we're continuing our Script to Store series. We started this, basically at conventions. We've done panels at conventions, talking to various people, audiences about, our process as far as, going from script, into the store and everything. And last week, we started our first part to the series. Talking about the 5 keys to break it into, creating a comic book script and everything. And we went over, the outline. We did like the page breakdowns. We did like panel descriptions, dialogue, and also camera angles and visuals and stuff. So if you want to check that out, make sure that you head back, after you watch this, and check out those, that video that we did last week. If at those beginning stages and thinking about trying to get something together, and we'll guide you, in that, aspect as far as, getting stuff out there. And okay. All right. So yeah, and make sure that you hit that that like button too. Make sure that you like all our stuff. Once you hit that subscribe, smash that subscribe, hit that notification, hit that like button, especially, and everything. So all right. So basically what Marvin said and everything. So Marvin's trying to keep me on top of the stuff in the show and everything. All right. So basically, we're gonna the first thing we're going to focus on is each page has a purpose or a beat, that you can, go into. So every page should be able to communicate, at least one clear story beat. We covered a little bit of this last week, but we're basically going to expand on it in a little bit more. A moment, an action, or emotional shift that pushes that narrative forward. And basically why it matters, comics are a visual pacing tool. So think about, when you're unlike when you're reading a novel where you're consuming like, prose and, just words and everything and no visuals, and you use your imagination to imagine everything that's going on in the novel. With the comics, there are visual, medium, and a page is like a paragraph. And it should leave the reader wanting and feeling something something specific before they turn that page. Marvin talked about last week about, making sure that you have a really good, cliffhanger at the end. So you want to make sure that, people just turn that page. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Marvin?
Yeah. So what you always want to do is you want to kind of leave the reader hanging a little bit, just to give them the idea that something else is going to happen. And last time I used the example of there's a Grover book that I had when I was little, where every time you would turn the page, Grover would say, "Don't turn the page, don't turn the page. There's a monster at the end of the book. There's a monster at the end of the book." And then he would fuss at you, like, or yell at you and say, "Why did you turn the page?" So it's the idea that you're like walking up a flight of stairs and you want to get to the top of the flight of stairs. You don't want to stop, or you don't want to go backwards. So what's my motivation to turn that page is like, what's on the next step? What's at the top of the landing? So you want to kind of keep things in motion. I think another way you can look at it is that the idea is when anyone's writing a James Bond movie, the idea is that something has to happen every 15 minutes, or that people get bored and they tune out. So think about taking that 15 minutes and applying it to a comic. Instead of every 15 minutes, is every page. So that last panel has to be something that's going to make someone go, "Oh, I need to go to the next page," or into the next page, next page. So just keep that in mind when you're writing, to make sure you leave on some of a cliffhanger to get people to go to the next page.
Yep. I mean, if the page is about a character discovering a secret, every panel should support that realization. It should support like the search, the clue, the reaction. Basically, you want to make sure that each panel means something, for the reader, so they can follow each panel, to the end, so they can turn that page and everything. So it's just a really important thing. I want to bring on and we talked about last week that we were going to bring on examples and stuff. So I want to cover took Marvin off the screen there. All right, so don't want to do that. So I want to bring on my comic. It's called The Theme of Thieves. So it's about two teens and a mysterious being, this guy in a red suit. They're traveling through time and they're trying to solve a mystery of why people disappear in the present. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, learning the controls and everything. So gotta make sure that we're on this. All right. So with this concept here, so we have like a basically, I'll start from here. So we'll go from like the page. So this is page 21 of issue 1 of The Theme of Thieves. Basically it's a mid shot of Samantha, one of my main characters. She's a teen and going to like a Cleveland high school. and she bumps into Rebecca, one of her her best friend and everything, and knocks her earbuds out slightly and everything. So if you look at the way that I described this first panel, when I originally made the script and everything, basically this is as simple as I made it for my man Dan Eakes, who drew the artwork and everything for it to come out. So, Samantha bumps on Rebecca and knocks her earbuds out. And then, you get like a thought caption, for Rebecca and, Samantha actually talking. So when we see our actual artwork itself, you see like Samantha knocking Rebecca's, earbud out and everything. And things start to continue and stuff. All right, so we get back to like the second panel shot. Rebecca turns with a slightly irritated look. The third panel, we see Rebecca and Samantha talking to each other, and other kids standing in front of in the background waiting for the school bus and everything. So if you look at like the how he drew it and everything, so by the time we get to like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panel, we see like a large school, the school bus in a wide shot form, so the way I do the panel breakdowns, I want to make it as I was telling Marvin last week and everything, I used to do like thumbnails of everything as far as like all the shots and everything. And then my artist told me, he's like, DP, make sure that, you don't have to do everything, just leave me the simple panel descriptions. I'll interpret everything for you. So it leaves him to, even though I'm like the director of the whole thing, it just leaves him room to actually make choices that I know that I may not necessarily make, when describing these panels. So this is sort of like a good thing. You want to make sure that you're if you're not too control oriented, make sure that you leave the panels as less descriptive as possible, but straight to the point, to where your artist, if you trust them, can actually take control, and you can add your dialogue there. You have any comments on anything that you're seeing there, Marvin?
Yeah. So I mean, and then that's where you kind of leave like the artistic license to the artist to try to, like, as you said, interpret what you're putting down, to make sure that it's matching and that you're getting to see everything that's happening in the script on the page.
Yep. And Marvin, did you send over your PDF script?
I did. Send it to your email.
The email? Okay, all right. So I'll pull that up in a second there. But yeah, so as Marvin said, here we go. All right. So as Marvin said, you just want to make sure that the artist is, if you trust your artist, and that's the key there, trusting your artist, making sure your artist is well aware of some of the, stuff that you want to put down. And then once they're ready to put it down, that you're okay with everything that comes back. One of my favorite things is actually writing the scripts, and I'm sure Marvin can attest to this, writing the script and actually having the artwork come back, and you're excited for everything that you're seeing, like within like the artwork and stuff. So that's one of my favorite things, as far as seeing my stuff come to life, and then seeing the interpretations and the artwork come back. As far as
it's a whole thing. Like each time you get the art back, then you get the colors back and letters back, and you're like, man, this is some good stuff.
This thing is coming to life.
Yes.
So right now we have like the edge. Okay, so this is basically the splash page. So we're going to see like the artwork to that, or a government installation somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. All right, it's snowy in the Rocky Mountains. Installation not so big. So Marvin is a little bit more descriptive, than I am, with some of this stuff and everything. So he's putting it down. So let's see what he has as far as like his artwork. So it says, the installation is not very big, as much as it is underground. Snow covers about 90% of the ground and is falling in a very rapid rate. A guard can be seen walking through the small blizzard near the installation. His footprints only leave behind him about 5 yards or so as the snow quickly covers them up. So what does this look like as a page? Bam! Here we go. All right, so we got like the snow covering the Rocky Mountains, like he said. We got the whole installation there. We got the guy, in the snow and like the footprints, as he said, just trailing back. And that's just a beautiful shot. This is a beautiful splash page. Can we talk about your a little bit more of your inspiration as far as this?
Yeah, so I mean that's and anytime I show somebody that page, you're like immediately, yeah, that's GI Joe.
I
And
was about to say too.
right, and like I said, is that the one thing we wanted to make sure is that we're showing this base and showing and trying to give the idea of why
What's up,
anybody
Brad?
will ever want to put a base in this place, and it's because you don't want anyone else to come there, right? It's not like you're not going to see or hear someone sneaking coming in there in helicopters or vehicles or something. So you put it out in the middle of nowhere because you don't want anyone to visit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just love this page. I love the page. I love the aesthetics of the root of the tree under the snow, the tree covered in snow, just showing that it's bad out there. And I'm pretty sure this guy's hating his life right now as he has to patrol this area.
Right. It's crazy, the stuff that goes on. I mean, it reminds you, like you said, a GI Joe is basically just coming at you. It's like, okay, this is how the scene is set. This is how the world. This is the establishing the world that you're in right there, and it's putting you right into like the action as before it actually begins and everything. So it's a really good way to get you in, to the story that you're presenting and everything. Installation, it's going to be a lot of metal stuff going on somehow, some way. So you just can't wait to turn the page, as we talked about before, to see how this thing is going to go like next.
Right. Yeah, that's your page turner. Like, oh man, this looks like something's going on. What are we going to see next?
What is he walking to? Where is he walking? Why is he out there?
Yeah.
If your reader is asking a lot of questions about why this, why that in a good way, then that's a good thing for you as a writer for the presentation that you're making with your your comic and everything. So yeah, that's a good shot right there. Good shot. All right. So next thing, balance page count and flow. So this is important. So basically with your page, balancing your page, you want to page count directly, and the page count directly affects pacing and readability. With 3 to 4 panels, it brings like a slower cinematic emotional beat. If you use more panels like I tend to do, like 6 to 9, it brings like a faster action heavy sequences. Not always though. Sometimes I use the multi 9-panel structure like Alan Moore used to use with like Watchmen to convey like emotion, to make like the emotion of a character going from one space to another. If we go back to this page of this, we have like Rebecca and Samantha talking, and Rebecca is basically reacting to some things that Samantha is saying, and we get like other shots of, think of it as like I guess HBO 30-minute sitcom or whatever. This is not intended to be funny and stuff, but they use like different camera angles to convey just the TV, the dialogue and stuff that the characters are saying on like a TV show. So I sort of like structure, my events the same way. So they're looking at their phones and they're talking to each other and stuff. Move this out the way again. Yep, and then we have that bus down there on panel 5. So panel 5, same position. Rebecca darts. We're pulling up. Okay, so panel 6, the slightly overhead shot of bus pulling up to let the kids on, and Rebecca and Sam continues. Now Marvin may be a little bit more descriptive, with how he wants it, but I just left it up, like I said, to the to the artist, which is really, like I said, the different ways of how I and how Marvin, may actually, lead stuff up to like, the artist and stuff. So if we go to the edge, so we got like the second, let's go to like the second page. All right. So we got like page 2, and the first, we got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels in the second page. So let's see how this looks page wise on with actual artwork. Page 2, here we go. Boom, boom, bam. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels right here. Now, Marvin, I like to have my panels like a little cleaner, but that's just based on my story and everything. Marvin is more traditional as far as his, panel lineup where they can overlap. So, Marvin, talk about the reasons why you like overlapping your panels and having a lot more,
right.
I guess energy to like the panels.
Right. So that's more of the 90s style of the way paneling was done, where, like you said, it's trying to convey energy. So you're and not only that, you're separating out panels for scenes. So you see your basic block panels or what's happening into that installation, and then you do a broken panel to show what's going on outside. So that's the one thing that you're going to notice a lot in the way that Mark does his paneling, is that when something is happening that is a little off, you're going to have an off panel. So you see that not only is this guy being choked out with that what's called a garrote, the panel looks like it. It looks like rope. So I mean, it's always trying to do something different. And it's something that like we try to do with the Edge, is give you something different to look at. It's not just the same block paneling or the same structure. Give it some energy, make it something different. Like, it's okay to break the rules as long as it works.
Yeah, if you know what rules to break and everything, then it should be like a if you should only be able to break rules if you already know what the rules are.
Right.
Especially if you've already done, some of the stuff that that's in making your stuff and everything. So it's okay to break rules if you already know what rules to break and everything. Right. So
I mean, like I said, be careful with it. Don't go too crazy with it. But and also you see that I've got the thought bubble in there. So you got the thought bubble.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that last week, right?
Right. So the thought bubble is in the Edge. So what we did with this one is that we're this is actually looking back into the past. So we're using captions for what's happening, the person in the present talking into the past, and also the thought bubbles in the past.
Okay, so that's pretty unique and like kind of like off the beaten path of what traditionally is supposed to be, right?
Yeah. But I mean, this is why we want to do it like that, because we want to present something different where we're kind of like setting an example of something that may or may not be right. So remember, you have someone telling a story in the present about the past. Is that person's thinking of what happened correct?
Right. All right. So that was the page 2 of that. And while I'm loading some of my stuff, let's get a little bit more of like the Edge. Let's go to like another page and everything. Actually, you know what? Let's go to like the next thing that we're talking about here. So 3. So write visually and not verbally. Okay. So that may come into a point where a comic script is for the artist to see, the story and not just read it. Okay. So basically, in your panel descriptions, you want to basically, describe like, actions, move, framing, focus on what's visible and everything. As you've seen with Marvin's, first and second, pages and everything, he focused a lot on like, the actions, and like the framing and everything, So basically, what the reader will see is something, visible, so they can, imagine and, get right into like the world that they're in. You want to basically try to avoid things like, he feels sad, and maybe instead, right, tears well up as he grips the photo tighter and everything, to give like the artist more of a visual description of what you're trying to convey. So you won't be disappointed when the artwork comes back and it's not exactly how you want it.
Because that could be interpreted so many ways. He looks sad. Is he doing this?
Right.
Or is he like, that's looking sad?
Yeah, how should it be? So the artists, they'll draw, they'll draw. They're you paying them, if you're paying them, you're paying them to do it.
That just gave me a thought. So George Lucas is writing Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith, and you get to the scene when Vader goes, "No." Do you think he wrote that in the script? Vader says, "No." It's like N-O.
Oh man, hey, some of that dialogue in like the first three, the prequels, you sort of kind of gotta wonder,
But that goes back to what I'm saying is like you didn't put any emotions or anything into the script. You just said Vader says no.
That's some crazy stuff right there. But yeah, you just want to make sure that it's not just something vague. It's said like Marvin said, anybody can look sad and everything, but how is he looking sad? What make sure that the artist has to know exactly how you want that to be positioned. Is he sat on that couch? Has he sat on the bed? How is he looking sad? What's the mood of the room and everything? You want to make sure that you're thinking like a film director.
Right. It also goes back to like when the first person, and you probably have to look it up to find it, that had emotions on Spider-Man's mask.
He said, "If you're paying them, that's right. You should be paying them. They shouldn't be doing the stuff for free. But some hungry folks out there that'll do things just on GP. I don't know. I wouldn't anyway. Each his own. Anyway, sorry.
That's like the first artist who decided to have Spider-Man's mask have emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the eyes, the expression with the eyes, because like the eyes shouldn't move on that mask. It's a mask. Why are the eyes moving?
Why are the eyes?
Yeah, right. And it's with Deadpool too. Like, why are the eyes expressive? So you did that because you wanted him to show emotion, like surprise, or because you can't see his mouth. All you have is those eyes to squint or go like this or anything like that. So again, some writer had to write that down and said, "Hey, let's make his eyes expressive." And the artist was like, "What are you talking about? It's a mask." And then it became a thing, right? It's a thing now that like Spider-Man has emotions on his mask.
Has emotions on his mask. Even though logically that makes absolutely no sense. I think during the early days, like Ditko and Kirby and everything, they weren't doing that. I don't remember, reading those comics and seeing like variety of different, expressions out of Spider-Man's mask. And Spider-Man has to be a hard character to write, because essentially the way that how Spider-Man is feeling is based on his dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's angry, he has like assertive and aggressive dialogue, because you can't tell through the mask. At least in the early days, you didn't.
Yeah.
If he was happy or making jokes, that's probably one of the reasons why he was always so jokey. Stan probably was like, what, he can't really express. We can't. The artist can't. The reader can't really see Spider-Man's expression, because logically, the mask doesn't move like he said. But if we make Spider-Man have a laughable personality and like clown type of personality comedy, then the readers will be really accepting of the way that this character moves about and speaks, and so you can actually know how his emotions are based on his dialogue. That's actually some really good work if you think about it like that, because like I said, to write a character like Spider-Man, and if you just use the new way of having his eyes and everything, in different interpretations. The way they created him back in the day must have been like a they found creative ways to work around it.
Right.
All right, so yeah, make sure that you write visually out verbally. Let's look at Marvin's script again here and everything. Let's go to page. Let's go to like the next page 3. So we got like 1, 2, 3, 4 panels here. All right. So we're inside like the installation. Michael Bias and Turtle in a room surrounded by huge monitors. The view should be so that it looks like someone is looking down on the room. All right. And then Bias eventually talks. All right. The first person that speaks, has been there. Has there been any word from Revenant yet? So let's see what that looks like here. Bam. We see like, the word balloon right there and then walking into the screen and everything. And we see like the whole installation right there. We get like an overlapping panel of this. Looks beautiful, looks real, it brings energy to it and everything. Like, it's just action going. Yeah, basically we're seeing like, we're seeing what I assume here is Revenant, right? All right. So and what the hell is he doing up there?
He snuck in through the vent, man. That's the vent.
Through the vent.
The vents, they're always big enough for people to get through.
So this is the first issue, guys. We're getting into the action of the story and everything. And already we got like, the Revenant, coming through the vent and everything. So something unorthodox and everything that we're seeing like, in this first issue. So it's crazy stuff going on in the Edge and everything. All right, so the next thing we got is we want to make sure that we're keeping the dialogue tight and natural. All right. So when you're basically talking about like dialogue here, speech balloons each space and less is more. Marvin, do you crowd your page with speech balloons?
I tried not to, and as we were talking about last week, is that I've had to rewrite some dialogue the page because it was a little too wordy. So I mean, when you're writing the script and you're putting your dialogue in, that's one of the things you have to be really, really aware of is once you're doing that, you have to make room for the words. So make sure that you're putting enough panels to make sure not only that the story flows, but there's room for people to speak. Because you might have too many panels or not enough panels and you don't have any space for your dialogue. And as I said before, I did see a comic where they ran out of room and didn't decide to trim the script. Instead, they just start covering up the artwork with, so some of the balloons were outside of the panels and you didn't know who was talking. You didn't know where to go. And I mean, it was a headache. And that's the one thing to do is confuse someone, try to read a book, because we've been at conventions where people have said to us, I don't know how to read a comic because I don't know where to go. And I said that's because the person drawing it didn't know what they were doing. Like the person drawing the book, the person writing the book should be able to tell the reader which order to go in with the panels.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a big thing, especially if you have new comic readers and comic books. Why you may think if you're watching this show, you're probably a big comic book fan, a comic book reader and everything. You may not think it's like, that hard, to figure out and everything. But, for newbies and stuff that are really into it or, trying to get into it and everything, you have to guide them and everything. I sort of make my comic real easy for the reader with the whole 6 to 9 panel structure. So the reader can know going from left to right is where you need to go to follow the action and stuff. Marvin's 90s style makes a little bit, even though the panels are a lot more energetic and everything, it makes for the new reader to try to figure stuff out even more and everything. And it's like different tastes come with different, aspects of story and stuff. Marvin writes more of an action style. So, of course, his panel requires like a lot more energy. Some of his, action, some of the stuff that he writes as far as action stuff wouldn't work in my 9 panel section and everything. It would just feel like a little janky and everything, and go back to a style that you had in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s that didn't necessarily, it brings like an outdated type stuff. The reason why I choose like my style is because I'm bringing more like a dialogue, more like a less action heavy, versus some of the stuff Marvin puts down and everything. The goal is basically to stay under 25 words per balloon, and under 3 balloons, per panel. Why it matters: if the dialogue covers the art, it ruins a rhythm. You don't want to ruin the rhythm of your artwork and everything. So that's just a crazy thing, period, and everything.
Right. And like you had this person do all this work, and then you're just going to cover it up with something, or like you could make a mistake and cover up something important that's in that panel that the person that's reading is going to miss.
Pro tip: read your dialogue aloud. And I think this is something that you taught me like a while ago, Marvin, and everything. Read your dialogue. If it sounds stiff, it'll feel stiff on the page. If it sounds real, it'll feel real on the page and everything. Good dialogue reads like an overheard conversation, real concise and character driven and everything. So you want to make sure that, if you're writing something down, make sure it's something that a person a human being would actually, say, not necessarily AI. Even though AI is getting a lot better at this stuff, but so yeah, let's check out another section in the script for the Edge, in dialogue. I'm sorry, hold on, I removed the. Let's push this here. There we go. All right, so this is page 5. And we're going to take that down here. All right, so page 5 has 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. The first panel, Revenant outstretches his arms as Bias is thrown out of the panel. And this is good too, especially for you guys who have a lot of action-oriented stuff. Bias is am I pronouncing this right?
It's Bloss.
Bloss, okay. I'm saying Bias. Bloss's arms. Bloss's arms and legs should be seen going out the left of the panel. And we have Bloss going. All right. So let's see how that actually looks, with the thing here. So is this page 5 right here?
That's page 4.
That's okay. This is page 5 right here. There we go. A lot of action. The eye that you see right there. And we got like 4 panels on this page and everything. They hit the lockdown alarm before he killed us all, and Revan is like, so right. just keep the action moving.
Right. And you'll notice that I made kind of a goof on that, where I told Mark just have him going out the left side of the panel, and he said that makes no sense. Why would he be going to the left when all the action when you want the reader to go to the right? So he fixed that. He's like, yeah, no, it goes to the right, not to the left.
That's why you have the artist do the artwork, and you keep writing and everything. So they'll correct you in a minute. I had many times where I've written a description, and my artist came back and said, nope, this does not make any sense. Let's put it this way. And I'm like, okay, yeah, do what you do, because I'm not doing that and everything, Right. So to make it sound and make sense on the page and everything, listen to your artist.
Mm-hmm.
He says, yeah, these are definitely lit stuff,
Appreciate it.
Mark V, he comes with the Kraken. Don't put the stuff right there and everything. So yeah, so that is basically just make sure that your stuff is tight and everything, and then finally, in pages and scenes with impact. Mm-hmm. So that goes back to what me and Marvin talking about, making sure that you're leaving your scenes ended with like either if you want to end it with a cliffhanger so they could go to the next page, that's real key. But make sure that you end your in the scenes with impact, so the reader will know that this page actually means something. Mm-hmm. they want to actually have some way to feel something, once they're in that page there.
I mean, it's like kind of like setting up dominoes, right? So if you don't set them up properly, you knock them down. The other ones don't fall. So that's like that. That's kinetic energy, and you want things to keep being kinetic.
Yep. And as you can see with a lot of Marvin's stuff, he's ending the stuff with like kinetic energy and everything. So we have you basically want to make sure that you're in with this image or a line that resonates. It could either be like a visual callback or a sudden twist or a moment of like quiet power. You got that villain that's just like ready to do his crazy stuff that the heroes on the next page will actually react to, for that and everything.
Right. So a good example of that is the old Flash Gordon serials, where Ming is up to no good and Flash Gordon saves the day, but Ming is always, "I'll get you, Flash Gordon," at the end, and then you have to come back to the next one to see how he's going to get him, or you put the hero in peril, like you did on the old Batman show. It's like, tune in the same bat time, same bat channel to see how they're going to get out of this one.
Oh yeah, gotta get the viewer to come back. So that's the whole purpose, and making sure they come back like the next episode and everything. So let's check out one more page of script from from the Edge right there. Next week I'll have a little bit more of the theme stuff, but Marvin is very professional. So he has his stuff like ready. So yeah, we get like page 6. I'm gonna choose like a real action oriented page here. Let's see if we got something. Let's see what this is. Let's choose something. We can choose that has like real impact at the end here.
What page is that right there? 8? Is it page 12-ish?
Yeah,
page 12 maybe.
This is page
the one when Interim was fighting.
Okay, so page 12 is a top view down a top down view.
Page 14.
Page 14. All right, let's go to page 14. So page 14, we get a view of the interim peeking of interim peeking around the corner of the door. Through the door, we see the man with the gun aimed at point blank.
Page 15. Sorry, yeah, page 15.
Page 15. Okay.
15.
All right.
15.
Her fist made contact with the face of the leader, and she now has control of the pistol. Okay. The leader is flying backwards from the impact of her hit, and all the other terrorists are shocked in a second and take a second too long to react to Interim's intrusion. So what does that look like on page 15? So this is let me see. Where we at, Marvin?
That's 14, and there you go.
All right, there we go. All right. So what's up? Was it only? So are we counting these as panels as well?
Yeah,
these are like okay. All right. Yep. So yes, this is how the energy looks. As far as that. So let's look at the screen. I mean the page again. Script again. And we get, so for the little panels Marvin has, he has like panels 3, 4, 5, and 6, with quick shots of Interim smashing, Interim's fist smashing into the face of one of the henchmen, and her foot coming, up to connect with the jaw of another henchman, her hand coming around the throat of another. So these are very descriptive for Mark to actually draw that we're actually seeing on the panels themselves. So look at that. The action is just moving from the first panel to like the 5th and 6th panels. We're getting like real good energy throughout like the whole page.
Right, and you saw in the script that I didn't write, the panels are moving in the direction that she's hitting them. That was all Mark.
Wild script, you gotta script out like a movie. Hey, that's this guy right here.
So, I think in some cases it ends up becoming a screenplay kind of. Because you want to make sure that you're conveying everything that you want on that page and everything that you want in place, because like it's like, again, it's a visual medium, and in some cases you want to be able to tell what's happening without dialogue too. If you guys remember, there was the old GI Joe comic Silent Interlude. It has no dialogue. Like the whole entire issue has no dialogue going on, and it's just visuals. And without a good script, without a good artist, you can't do anything like that. And you see that no one else has tried it since.
Right. And I guess the other thing about Marvin's Lit Studio said it's script out like a movie and everything. I sort of script mine out like a TV show where TV is more dialogue driven than action driven. So a lot of my panels move a little bit slower, as far as that. So when Marvin is doing his stuff, he's scripting out as if it was like an action movie and everything. So you see like from the top script here, from the top panel here down to like the fifth, the fourth, fifth, and sixth stuff. It's made to be where if this was actually to be taken to like a actual movie and everything, it's right there. The storyboarding is right there for the director to actually put the stuff in place and everything. Whereas more as the stuff that you get in A Theme of Thieves will be the same way in a TV show. It'll be really paced to where you get like a lot of the dialogue driven stuff that I do with my characters for the pace that does for like TV and everything. So Marvin got like the real G.I. Joe stuff going on in this in the edge and everything. Makes it like super, super exciting and everything.
Yeah, that's for anyone that doesn't know and you didn't see the link, or if we were listening to this just the audio, that's G.I. Joe Silent Interlude. No dialogue in the whole book.
No dialogue in the whole book. And great point, Marvin. So if you are listening to like the podcast, audio and everything, and you do want to make sure that you watch what we're actually talking about, while it's good to listen to our stuff, make sure that you are going on to like our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll you're seeing like all the visual representation of what we're doing with our comics and all that stuff. So it's really important. You get like a visual representation of especially if you're trying to be a comic creator or just trying to learn, or like the whole documenting process and everything. If you're just listening to us on podcast, we'll soon be on like iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, you'll still see our Comicsburg, the Comicsburg show on there.
Right.
All right, so that was basically our top 5 tips to comics page breakdown, panels, and dialogue and everything. It's not a hard thing to do, but I wouldn't say it's like the easiest thing to actually to enact, because it takes a lot of thought and execution, especially to put all these things into like practice and stuff. Promiscuous Traveler, Time Traveler said what was number 2? I don't see it popping like up in the rewind. So
number 2 was balance, panel count, and flow.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So next week we shall be back with another script from Script to Store, and we'll talk about more about how to get your comic stuff together, and we'll be doing like more inks, print pencils and stuff. So I want to show like what the breakdowns looks like as far as that, how the sketches, from the sketches to like the pencils and then the inks, and then we'll eventually get into like colors, and then of course like dialogue with like the lettering and everything. So we'll get into a little bit of that next week. I want to make sure that you guys are definitely knowing everything that's going on with Comicsburg. I promised you that we'll show like Marvin's stuff here again.
Right. And already shown that. I just want to point out that this is all a process and it's all important. So as a creator, don't scrimp on anything, because the art's important, the story's important, the color's important, the ink's important, the letters are important. I mean, the way the book is printed is important. When you're doing your page setup, and you're making sure that sizing is right. You don't want anything running into the gutters. That's what they're called on the sides of the pages, and because it will make it unable to read it. You don't want to make sure that when the cover is done, that things aren't flowing over the sides, because there's staples over there and you're not going to be able to see it.
Oh man, don't want to put your characters in a staple. You know, that's putting them in the wrong place and everything. You know, I don't want to do that. So who is Kyrad?
We're going to find out in the Edge Volume 3, God's Thunder. So this is issues 10 through 14, not 15 anymore. 15 will go into the next volume. 14 will now be a double-sized issue.
All right. We're at 36 followers. So make sure that, you know, you're, we'll put the link into the show notes and everything. So make sure that, you know, you're clicking on that so we can follow this for eventually, you know, what, do we have a timetable when this is going to end up coming out here, Marvin?
It should be January or February.
All right. So, you know, that's coming and it's on its way. All right. So that's a beautiful thing and everything. So make sure that you guys are clicking on the link, like I said, in the show notes, and we'll get you guys going as far as that. We got some, you know, a few more comments here and everything. They say, that's my biggest beef with Omnibusters. You almost can't read what's coming, can't read what's close to the binding.
Right. I mean, because you're kind of with the omnibus, so now it's a bigger, thicker book. So you kind of have to shrink the pages a little bit for it to fit with the binding, because
it wasn't made for binding. I mean, it
right.
wasn't made for, you know, the intentions in the beginning wasn't made for that. But now, as you keep, you know, doing these things for a long time and everything, you got to realize that you got to shrink those pages.
It has to be resized. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so yeah, Kyrad is a new character. He's kind of like muscle for God's Thunder. So God's Thunder is a terrorist group that you see in issue 1, and then the leader of the terrorist group, Joshua, returns in issue 5 because he has something that someone else wants. So they kind of recruit in some fashion Kyrad to eliminate other people with enhanced people. But as I said before, that Kyrad has his own agenda, and that all plays out in volume 3.
Agendas, we all got them somehow.
He just brought up Shatterstar. I was reading something about Shatterstar yesterday. So you know that Shatterstar is his own granddad.
That's Marvel stuff for you, boy.
Right.
His own granddad, really?
And he's his own midwife. So when he went back in time, and they used his DNA to create Longshot, right? And then he was there when he was born, and he delivered himself.
He delivered himself.
Yeah. I'm like, whatever, man. That's just dumb.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff and everything. All right.
All right. I mean, that's kind of where the thing in Futurama with Fry came from. Remember, Fry was his own granddad.
Man, hey, that's a good thing about creating these things. You know, you can you don't have like people, executives with show notes and stuff, you know, coming on you. You have editors and stuff, you know, telling you, okay, maybe you shouldn't do this and that, but it's not that serious and everything.
Yeah. I wouldn't read the book with Shatterstar. just go on Wikipedia, like he's his own granddad. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Hey, make sure you guys are following us at Comicsburg. We're all over the place. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, smash that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you. Make sure that you're sharing our stuff on Facebook. And like, you know, say we're all on Instagram, X, TikTok, and everything. You know, all over social media.
Coming soon to Twitch. We're going to be on Twitch.
Coming soon to Twitch. So make sure that you know you're checking us out on that channel.
And Whatnot. We'll be on Whatnot too.
Whatnot. All right. So let's
be everywhere. Anywhere you are, we want to be. So if there's somewhere you're at and we're not there, you let us know where it is, because we'll be there.
Yep. Send us some feedback. Info@comicsburg.com. We love to hear from you. You know, We appreciate you, Lit. You know, great. Thanks for joining us, man. You know, it's a beautiful thing. You know, Promiscuous Time Traveler. You know, I see Paige up there and everything. Anybody, you know, who joined us, tell your friends. You know, tell all your friends, family, and everything. You know, we love to have them, you know, watch and listen to us and everything if they're interested in stuff that we're talking about. So make sure that you're, you know, doing all that. Support your local library, people. Support your public libraries. Hey, you got to make sure that you're going out there checking out some books. You know, we continue to read and all that stuff. Make sure that you guys are, like I said, clicking on that link in the show notes for Marvin's Kickstarter, and make sure that you're, you know, if you're see our QR code right here, you know, if you got your phone, you know,
it's on the side.
Is it right there?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, all right. You know, my screen is right there, but anyway, it's right there. Okay. You know, you need to turn your screen around. So I think I'm right. You know, you need to go into your settings and turn that around.
What's the chat say? Where's the QR code at? Is it on the left or right?
Yeah, is it on the left or right, chat? What are we looking at, chat? What are we looking at? You know, I say it's right there. Marvin say it's right there, but you know, who's right, DP or Marvin? You know, let us know.
Just put a poll up.
We put a poll up. Yeah, let's put a poll up. Anyway, we appreciate you guys, you know, for you know, checking us out and everything. Thanks for you know, tuning in, and we shall see ya next week. Peace out.
Good night.